fellow Toastmasters, guests, I had a lot of things to talk about, but on an icebreaker speech, I am told, talk about me. So that's what I will do. I was very young when I was born, so I was also very innocent. However, the world soon found out about my presence, at least that part of the world I was concerned with. At first I was kind of shy about announcing my presence, but that didn't last very long, because in those days I was rather attractive, kind of cute, and the ladies of all ages rushed to embrace me. However, that didn't last very long. As I grew older, those embraces grew fewer and fewer. However, with ignorance and eagerness of youth, I grew up and became older. I really couldn't avoid it. By the time I was 8 or 9, I was an experienced member of my active community. During those years, I boarded out with my mother and father. They were nice people. As a matter of fact, they were the nicest I had ever known. Brooklyn, the place where I was born, Brooklyn, New York, which incidentally was a very nice place to be born in. I never really asked them out there in Brooklyn how they reacted to my event. I just knew they didn't seem to object. I don't really remember any of the winters in Brooklyn, but the summers were heaven for a growing kid. We lived in a neighborhood where the houses were very close to each other, all facing the streets. The moms sat on the front stoop of the house and yelled gossip to each other, while their kids played in the sidewalks and the front yards or the streets. I remember stickball in the streets. I remember the firemen who came on a hot day, attached their hoses to the hydrant, and gave the kids a cool shower on a hot, really hot day. I remember the street vendors walking the neighborhood selling flavored ices from their push carts, potato pancakes, hot corn on the cob, hot yams, and ice cream from a wagon drawn by a little black and white horse. And I remember the 2-penny ride on the merry-go-round that was mounted on the back of a small flatbed truck. As an alternate, on alternate days, they also had a little Ferris wheel on this truck. Same 2 cents. And I remember Brooklyn when baseball was king. Anybody who wasn't a tried and true fanatical fan of the Brooklyn Dodgers walked the streets of Brooklyn at their own peril.
Yeah.
As a teenager, I went back to Brooklyn and visited. And we stood in the corner of the candy store and talked baseball. I foolishly admitted I was a Yankee fan. It took my cousin an awful lot to pull the gag off me. I remember Brooklyn and the Coney Island Frankfurters covered with mustard and heaped with sauerkraut. Just thinking about it made my mouth water. There it was, a picture in my mind, so vivid I could almost reach out and grab it. I remember Brooklyn only as a 9-year-old can remember wondrous, exciting Brooklyn. Hey, I remember things I thought I'd forgotten years ago, like the big empty lot near the corner right next to my father's drugstore. That's the lot where we had all the neighborhood block fights. They were never scheduled fights, they just kind of happened. somehow when a fight between blocks was to take place, word seemed to mysteriously travel around the area, and all the kids in the area would congregate on that empty lot. And the wooden fence at the end of that lot, the one with the big hole in it, would spew forth kid after kid armed with orange crate guns, complete with the rubber band slings. I don't think any of you have ever seen an orange crate gun, but in those days, oranges came in wooden crates with reinforcement, 1x1s around the ends. And they were taken and sawed into the shape of a gun. A rubber band was then slung from the bottom to the top, and cardboard squares were then shot from these rubber bands. If I remember correctly, nobody was ever hurt. There was an awful lot of yelling and jumping and pushing and shoving until someone figured out it was time for the lemonade. Then the yelling and pushing and shoving all centered around the lemonade to see who ended up with a piece of lemon or an ice cube in their cup. Incidentally, those were all male affairs, no girls allowed, except the moms who brought the lemonade. I remember Brooklyn. Yes, I do remember Brooklyn. After all, how can I not remember it? There it is in black and white. Lee Blyfield, born in the borough of Manhattan, city of Brooklyn, state of New York in the USA, right there in black and white on my birth certificate.